Hi and good day to you. Welcome to The Ugly Tree. Today's story is one of heartbreak, betrayal, and a little girl who never got to grow up. We will unpack the case of Charlise Mutten's disturbing details of a crime that begins in Queensland, Australia. But what unfolds after she arrives in Sydney is nothing short of chilling. So, let's begin our journey with Charlise Mutten, age 9, a student at Tweeds Head Public School. Living with her grandparents Clinton and Deborah Mutten in Tweeds Head in northern New South Wales, southern Queensland, essentially in the Coolangatta region on the Gold Coast. She had been staying with them since the age of 5 under their legal custody after their mother Calista was incarcerated back in 2017 due to a car crash in which her passenger friend died. To make matters worse, she had methamphetamine in her system at the time. Calista was sentenced for this incident for 3 years and 4 months in prison for dangerous driving causing death, also known as vehicular manslaughter. Calista didn't exactly fit the image of a convicted felon. If anything, she seemed more like someone whom you meet for a yoga class than someone who once killed someone accidentally. Despite everything, the conviction, the addiction, plans were made for Charlise to spend the holidays with Calista. It would be the little girl's first visit in years, and tragically her last. Although the specifics of who booked Charlise an unaccompanied flight weren't made public, she was set to fly out December 21st, 2021, from the Gold Coast to Sydney at the age of 9, traveling alone as an unaccompanied minor. Once arrived in Sydney, Charlise spent the following weeks of her holiday with her mother Calista and Justin Stein, who at the time was Calista's fiancé, enjoying as any 9-year-old girl would a variety of holiday activities, such as swimming, celebrating Christmas, relaxing between the Mount Wilson property Wildstein Estate, which is owned by the Stein family, and staying at the Revere Ski Gardens Caravan Park at Lower Portland, about 1 to 1.5 hours away from the Wildstein Estate. It was a time that appeared to be so carefree and joyful. On January 10th, Charlise was with her mother, Calista, at the Revere Ski Gardens Caravan Park. The very last photos of Charlise taken and sent the same day from Calista's phone to Charlise's grandparents, portraying Charlise, who was clearly happy and excited during what appeared to be a joyful family holiday. However, the next day, Charlise travels with her mother's fiancé, Justin Stein, to his parents' property at Mount Wilson Wildstein Estate, a peaceful property nested in the Blue Mountains, whilst Calista stays behind at the Revere Ski Gardens Caravan Park. From Justin Stein's phone, a message was sent at 8:20 p.m. the same day to Calista. "I'm just cooking up some chicken and Charcy is watching TV and playing with balloons." The very next morning, roughly at 8:43 a.m., Justin travels to Lower Portland to pick up Calista. The pair then traveled to Sydney, where the duo bought and used methamphetamine and then had sex in the Sentinel Park, Sydney, before both together returning to the Mount Wilson property around 8:44 p.m. to find nobody home. Shocked by Charlie's unexpected absence, Calista and Justin stood frozen in the doorway, the silence of the house pressing in around them. Her shoes weren't by the door, no lights left on, no nothing. On January 13th, the following day, Calista left the Mount Wilson property in the early hours of the morning. She started and took Justin's red Holden Colorado Ute. Whilst out that morning, Justin decided to leave her some voicemails demanding her to return his vehicle. She texted back saying that she was and she just want my order. She returned the car sometime before 12:30 p.m., where then Justin took the vehicle to look supposedly for Charlise. It wasn't until the next day Calista finally reported her daughter missing on January 14th at 6:42 a.m. From that moment, a frantic police investigation began. Search efforts by the New South Wales police were launched, and and the timeline of Charlise's last known movements started to take shape. But things only went downhill from there. Just 4 days later, on January 18th, police made a grim discovery. Charlise's body hidden inside a sand-filled barrel abandoned near the Color River. With the confirmation of Charlise's death, attention quickly turned to Callista and Justin. From that moment, scrutiny around their actions, movements, and statements intensified. In particular, emerging evidence and inconsistencies pointed towards Justin primarily. To fully understand as to why we need to examine the unfolding circumstances and inconsistencies that emerged over time, the troubling inconsistencies that began to surface, digital forensics allowed investigators to trace Justin and Callista's whereabouts and messages, allowing for a clear reconstruction of the events. We can clearly see that after Charlise was brought to the Mount Wilson estate on January 11th, and the day after on January 12th, when Callista and Justin had their field trip of fun in the Sentinel Park, it was January 13th where the evidence started to stack. On January 13th's morning, the day Callista started Justin's car in the morning and went out searching for her daughter. Those voicemails Justin decided to leave Callista were very disturbing. I'm going to tell her as well as everyone. I'll tell the police that you're the one who took your daughter. Callista then brought the car back to Justin's around 10 to 12 p.m. before digital forensics tracked Justin's next journey. He apparently left his around 12:30 p.m. under the pretense that he was looking for Charlise. At 3:52 p.m. he arrives at the Marsden Park Bunnings. Bunnings, for those of you who aren't from Australia, is an Australian-owned retail company that specializes in home improvements and gardening products. At Bunnings, he is clearly seen on the CCTV buying 5 bags of sand. At 4:17 p.m. he arrives at a nearby 7-Eleven, where he buys a Coke, a slushie, and a Snickers. At 4:30 p.m. he is seen filling up his boat at a nearby BP. Roughly an hour later, at 5:21 p.m., he arrives at the Rose Bay Wharf car park, to probably end up determining that this place is too busy because he leaves shortly after. So he begins heading towards Taplin Park Wharf, also known as Drummond Wharf, which is about a 20 to 30 minute drive away from Rose Bay Wharf car park. His phone location pings, informing us that he remains there until 10:44 p.m. While he was there, his phone shows messages sent and received to his own mother and Callista. At 7:28 p.m., Justin Stein's mother messages. He responded at 7:29 p.m. He remains at the Taplin's Park Wharf until 11:49 p.m. He then drove to David Street near Windsor before going to the Windsor boat ramp at 12:12 a.m. There, he leaves the boat ramp and allegedly travels to an area at the Lower Color River Road. At exactly 1:06 a.m. at the Lower Color Road, where the barrel with Charlise's body was found, his phone location pinged. Then at 1:15 a.m. he does a U-turn and goes back to the Mount Wilson property. That piece of evidence really draws a clear line, especially for authorities, because it wasn't until the next morning at 6:42 a.m. when Callista finally reported Charlise missing to the authorities. The same morning Callista reported, Justin told her that he needs to go to the hospital for an injection for his heroin addiction. He arrives near the RPA hospital, but is called by the police to go in for an interview at 10:55 a.m. He is interviewed by the police at Penrith Police Station.
I never had Charlise on Wednesday. She's had her the whole time. Callista has been talking about literally doing a runner with Charlise for quite some time. Like I said, she and I have been having problems.
It wasn't until January 18th, when Charlise Mutten's body was found, that Justin Stein was finally arrested shortly after. So how did this all hold up in the court of law? Well, to keep it short and simple, it didn't. There was a ton of stacked evidence against this man. The autopsy showed that Charlie suffered 2 individual gunshots, one to the backside of her hip and the other to her face. Toxicology reports findings showed the presence of an antipsychotic medication called quetiapine, also commonly known by its brand name Seroquel, in Charlise's system. This was a prescription medication commonly used to treat schizophrenia that Justin Stein had legally. Just to understand, for a child, a single adult dose of quetiapine can cause significant sedation, drowsiness, vomiting, and central nervous system suppression. It's possible, but not conclusive, that Charlise ingested or forcibly took the drug within 6 hours of her death. There is also no evidence or claims of sexual assault in any reliable sources or trial records. Justin was kept in custody through the times of his trials. He pleaded that he was not guilty to the murder of Charlise Mutten. His defense argued that Charlise Mutten was actually responsible for the little girl's death, not Stein. The jury rejected this defense and found Justin Stein guilty on the 19th of June, 2024. Approximately 2 years and 5 months later, Justice Helen Wilson sentenced Justin to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, describing his actions as shockingly callous. The court determined Justin obtained the gun used in the murder. 2 firearms and the other antiques were stolen from a neighboring property in the Mount Wilson, which Calista also aided Justin in this break-in in November 2021. One of the stolen firearms, a rifle with Stein's fingerprints, was identified as the weapon used to kill Charlise Mutten. So Calista ultimately helped steal the weapon that ended helping her daughter's demise. She had pleaded guilty to the break-in and was ordered to undergo drug and alcohol rehabilitation, rather than serving time in jail again. While Justin Stein's life sentence brings a form of closure, the case sparks a wider debate about the moral responsibility, not just of the perpetrator, but of those who failed to protect a child. Obviously, Calista Mutten's choices as an unfit mother placed Charlise in harm's way, but also the choice from Charlise's grandparents, whom originally allowed her to go very far away to Calista, being very well aware of their daughter's conviction previously for dangerous driving occasioning death. Also, a side note to the story, back when Calista was in jail for her reckless driving, she met Justin Stein during her incarceration through some sort of rehabilitation incarceration related circumstance. So basically, their relationship was marked from the beginning on a mutual shared experience of addiction and legal troubles. So folks, that's pretty much the gist of things. I hope we can all take away from this and be more vigilant with who you let in your inner circles. Your inner circle shapes you and your peace. Let in only those who protect it. Have a good day.